Tomorrow on ABC's World News Tonight, DeLorean selling and scrambling to save his life.
People have not heard the full story.
With his financial dynasty crumbling, his beautiful wife back to work, and alleged IRA death threats, where does he stand? ABC News, uniquely qualified to bring you the world.
And here's the latest from Eyewitness News. Well, he's not moving the capital to the Iron Range, but Governor Rudy Perpich did open his new administration near the mines in Hibbing today.
With jobs the big worry, a bit of good news here in the Twin Cities. Hundreds of people are going to work under a new jobs program.
And this worker only produces 3 items a year, but they're lifesavers. Jason Davis on the road again from Chisholm.
Those stories and more coming up next on the Eyewitness News Update.
As a big person, you got to remember, a lot of people look up to you, especially those young guys who are growing up without a father at home, like my little buddy here, Tony. But through the Big Brothers program of Minneapolis and St. Paul, you can help a little guy grow up. In fact, just a few hours a week of your time could help change his entire perspective on life. And maybe your own.
Now, Cindy Bricotto, Stan Turner, meteorologist Dennis Feldgen, and Bob Bruce with sports. The Eyewitness News Update.
Good evening, everyone. Well, you saw it all tonight here on Channel 5, live from the Dome. The Minnesota Vikings and the Dallas Cowboys brought down the curtain in style on the strike-shortened 1982 season.
I'm going to say, what a ball game. Bob Bruce is at the Dome, and I will let Bob handle all the superlatives. Bob.
You can say what a ball game. You can say it's one of the finest professional games anyone will ever see. In fact, one run by Tony Dorsett, the longest run from scrimmage ever in the 63-year history of the National Football League. Call Dallas Cowboys America's team. Who cares? What about Minnesota's team? The Vikings, 31-27 over the Cowboys. They will have a home playoff game for the first time in years next Sunday against Atlanta. We'll have much, much more for you later in the sports. But really, one of the greatest Viking games I know I've ever seen. You got to go many years back to find a better one.
Okay, Bob, don't get too pumped up about it. Thank you. Well, also in the news tonight, the Iron Range town of Hibbing was bathed in a little reflected glory today.
And that golden glow was cast by Hibbing's favorite son, and tonight our new governor, Rudy Perpich, was inaugurated today on the stage of the Hibbing High School Auditorium, and government specialist Lindsay Strand was there.
Rudy Perpich returned to his alma mater, the Hibbing High School, to take his oath of office. He greeted dozens of former teachers who came back to school for the day, many of them in their 90s. And he lunched with students in the school cafeteria, trying to keep a New Year's resolution to lose the weight he gained during the campaign. Perpich ate lightly, soup and 2 desserts. But dessert today was just sliced peaches. Inside the elaborately decorated school auditorium, Perpich was sworn in. His wife Lola held the Bible as Associate Justice Rosemary Wall administered the oath. Wall, the first woman on the Supreme Court, was appointed by Perpich during his first term. He chose to take the oath away from the state capitol because he wanted a less formal environment and wanted to underscore the needed changes he sees in education. Perpich urged parents to take a more active role in their children's education. He called for more consolidation of school administration, questioning the need for 435 districts, each with their own superintendents and bookkeeping departments.
Aren't there ways to reduce administrative costs, to free up money for language teachers or computers or science? Being literate in English language is not enough today. Our goal should be to graduate students with at least one foreign language and fluency in the language of the computer. Schools must come into the computer age. I know that many schools have their IBMs and their Apples and their control datas, but many others do not, and that is unforgivable.
Having already named all of his cabinet members at a record pace, Perpich says he can now concentrate on trying to turn the state's economy around and will deliver his State of the State address on Wednesday. There were many firsts at this inauguration. Perpich is the first governor to serve non-consecutive terms and the first to be sworn in away from the state capitol. He'll be serving with the state's first lieutenant governor that is a woman, all setting the tone for what Perpich hopes will be an innovative 4 years. In Hibbing, I'm Lindsay Strand, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And that first woman lieutenant governor was inaugurated as well today in more traditional fashion at the state capitol. Tomorrow, more pomp is scheduled at the Capitol.
Minnesota's 73rd legislature will convene at noon on Tuesday, tomorrow. All 201 members of the Senate and the House of Representatives will be sworn in for another battle with the state's budget problems. It was action of the last session of the legislature being considered today in Ramsey County District Court. The court denied a request by several public employee unions to temporarily stop a 2% cut in their paychecks. The cut is part of the state's new budget balancing plan. Instead of the state paying pension contributions for public employees, they'll start paying it themselves. But today's court action doesn't mean the 2% cut is permanent. The state Supreme Court will hold a full hearing on the matter on Thursday. Another major concern of the governor and the legislature is the creation of new jobs.
And they got a little help in that direction today. The private McKnight Foundation has given the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul over $2 million toward the creation of new jobs. Carolyn Brookter reports.
A new jobs program was probably the best news Minneapolis Mayor Don Fraser and St. Paul Mayor George Latimer could have received to start the new year off.
This program will be operated over a 12-month period with employment opportunities having at least 6 months duration.
Both cities will receive $1.2 million each to carry out the program. It will mean some 200 jobs for St. Paul and 400 jobs for Minneapolis.
The program is aimed at those who have fallen out the bottom. Under the eligibility requirements, you must have been unemployed for 90 days, ineligible for any kind of assistance, unemployment compensation, pension, welfare, anything else. These are the people, in fact, who have suffered from the largest rupture in the safety net.
The type of jobs will vary, but most of them will be entry-level positions. Some will be full-time, while others will be part-time. Besides offering jobs, it's hoped the program will also create incentives for new businesses to expand.
First, the idea of stimulating investment by employers is one tried method, and the second, of course, to create work in the public sector.
McKnight officials say they don't expect this program to be a long-term solution, but both mayors agree that while 650 jobs may just be a drop in the bucket in the overall unemployment picture, at least this program offers some hope. In the Twin Cities, I'm Carolyn Brookter, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And if you're interested in applying for the jobs program in Minneapolis, you should call 348-2181. If you're interested in the St. Paul program, that number, 298-0116. With national unemployment at over 10%, jobs are still a critical issue in Washington as well.
And the need for new jobs keynoted the opening of the new Congress today. The House of Representatives convened today in Washington with 81 new members, and it was, you might say, a party of sorts. With family and friends crowding that floor, the Sergeant-at-Arms had some trouble quieting the chamber. Congressmen made new friends and showed off their children to their colleagues. Many kids were awed by the historic surroundings, and one little girl was literally bowled over by it all. When quiet finally prevailed, Democrat Tip O'Neill was reelected Speaker of the House, and he, O'Neill, pledged to make new jobs for the unemployed the main goal this session.
The American people want action, not partisan bickering. Therefore, I am confident that the members of this House will get to work putting America back to work.
After the speech, the formality. All 435 members were sworn in for the new session by Speaker O'Neill. And that new group included 2 freshmen from Minnesota, Congressman Jerry Sikorsky of the state's new 6th District and Congressman Tim Penny of the redrawn 1st District, both elected for the first time last November and joining the class of 1983 today.
And the Senate of the 98th Congress convened today with 5 freshmen and 28 veteran senators sworn in. And according to the majority leader of the Senate, Howard Baker, Social Security is the #1 problem facing the new Congress.
Social Security is so important to so many people that I hope that we can set aside partisan differences, that we can find an accommodation between competing views, and we can rise above the usual conflicts and adopt a national policy that will assure the soundness of the system into the future.
Sometime this month, the new Congress will be getting President Reagan's budget proposals, and today the president began a week of meetings to stem a record flow of budget red ink without sacrificing his goals of building up the nation's defenses and cutting taxes. Well, to that end, the president today tentatively approved $30 billion in non-military budget cuts for fiscal 1984 to hold the expected budget deficit of that year below $200 billion. Also today, the president met with the commission that he has named to study U.S. strategic defense policy. The emphasis of the study will be how to deploy the MX missile. The commission is headed by former National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft, who told reporters that whatever the group comes up with is unlikely to meet with unanimous approval. Dennis?
Former Vice President Walter Mondale is still promising to make the formal announcement here in Minnesota, but today in Washington, he gave his presidential aspirations an official stamp. He filed with the Federal Election Commission as a candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1984. That is so he can qualify for federal matching funds when he begins gathering money for his campaign, if he does indeed decide to go ahead with the presidential campaign. Cindy.
It's a whole new phone company today, and in just a moment, Dennis Moore will outline the new company's effects on you.
$5. Every pair of pants for guys, gals, and kids at the County Seat Warehouse sale is just $5. The County Seat Warehouse sale at the old Red Owl store at Knollwood Mall.
I've had it. You hear me? I've had it.
He's had it. And he owns Corner Plaza. Times are tough, so he's lowered prices on every single item in our stores permanently.
Permanently.
That's first quality name brand goods at new discounted prices.
Discounted.
You save every day on everything.
Everything.
Clothing, toys, shoes, sporting goods, Corner Plaza. New name brand goods at discount prices.
Come in, we'll prove it.
Corner Plaza, the discount family department store.
I can't believe it. He's here. I'll just die if he comes over.
Who's your friend, huh? Hey, buddy, what's up? Hey, there's Jennifer.
What do you know? He's not with Karen.
I don't think I'll ask her today.
Here he comes. Gotta relax.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Mike.
You're not going to be studying Thursday night?
No, I'm free.
Oh, I just wanted to borrow your English notes.
Want to quit smoking? Call the Cancer Information Service. It's free.
The phone company started becoming the phone companies today. American Telephone and Telegraph, the world's largest company, settled with the government's antitrust lawyers just over a year ago. The breakup of Ma Bell has been in the works ever since, but it started officially today. Money specialist Dennis Moore reports on what it means to you.
They changed the sign of what used to be the Phone Center store in downtown Minneapolis this morning, and that may be the biggest change a lot of people see at Ma Bell this year.
Very simply, I hope the customer notices very little. It's business as usual as far as Northwestern Bell is concerned.
The service centers and company offices will still rent and eventually sell off the rest of Northwestern Bell's phone inventory. The phone centers in the Dales and other retail locations become sales offices for the new American Bell. Doing business with the phone company will work a lot like it did 10 years ago.
That's right. After many years of asking our customers to come into the phone centers, now we're asking them to call us first.
Calling long distance won't change either this year. Local phone companies will eventually give you equal access to MCI, Sprint, all of the long-distance companies, not just Bell's, but that'll be phased in between 1984 and 1990.
Well, you may not be able to see the really big changes this year. They're there. What's going on is nothing less than the creation of a Fortune 500 company almost overnight. This is the area headquarters of that company, American Bell in Edina.
American Bell has 28,000 people in 700 locations.
American Bell is in the business of selling equipment, increasing productivity for business firms, and selling information systems. As you will see in the coming years, the Office of the Future will include, electronic mail and many other services that will really enhance the productivity of the white-collar worker.
So far, American Bell is concentrated on business equipment sales, but its stores could become outlets for high-tech electronics. Just as the business phone is becoming more of a computer, you could soon be punching a lot more into your home phone than Grandma's area code. I'm Dennis Moore, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
In Poland today, about 2,500 new trade unions came to life, part of the government decree banning the Independent National Union Solidarity. Those new, smaller unions are supposed to replace Solidarity, but with support for the banned union still strong among many workers, few Poles are expected to take part. The new unions individually will have few powers compared to Solidarity's union, which boasted 9 million members at its height. Good news to report tonight for the Minnesota Orchestra and its fans. Less than an hour ago, musicians agreed on a new contract and will be reporting to work tomorrow. The musicians have been working without a contract since September and said if a new agreement was not worked out tonight, they would not report to rehearsal tomorrow. All the terms of the new contract have not been released yet, but it is known the musicians will be paid $191 more a month over the next 3 years. Cindy.
We go back up on the Iron Range tonight to the town of Chisholm specifically, where in spite of the recession, one company is doing quite nicely, thank you. Of course, the company has produced only 32 items in the past 10 years, but as Jason Davis reports, 32 satisfied customers wouldn't part with their products for all the money in the world.
On the road again, just can't wait to get on the road again.
In 1962, 14-year-old Debbie Grahek was crippled by a stray bullet. Angelo Vittori was a neighbor and a close friend of Debbie's father, Louis. It broke Angelo's heart to see the young girl struggle to get around with her friends.
It's something that money can't buy. I mean, it's, you know, it's an achievement. It's something that, well, it's love. I mean, it's, you know, you try to make this kid go, because I remember when I was a kid, you know, and I like to go with a bike. I used to go all day long with a bicycle. Feel that wind, and I figured I wanted to give her the same thing.
So Angelo created the first of a series of three-wheelers for people bound to wheelchairs. Working in his huge home workshop, Angelo has steadily improved each model. He's provided units for 30 people, among them Governor George Wallace, but he calls them all after the first little girl that needed his help.
We named this bike for that little girl. I mean, this is the Debbie bike. That's why we call it the Debbie bike. I mean, not for myself, but just for that little girl.
Angelo is retired now from his job with the mines, but he says he works every day on more Debbie bikes because he can't forget the child of his friend and her need 10 years ago.
Well, I love this guy. I mean, and when this thing here happened, this accident, I really felt bad. I tried to do something.
8 years ago, Doug Johnson was lucky enough to get one of the early Debbie bikes. He uses it yet and has fond memories of its inventor and builder, Angelo Vittori.
Andy, I find to be, I'm just glad there's people like him in the world yet.
Since 1972, Angelo Vittori has made 32 Debbie bikes, and he has this map showing where they are. He says his dearest wish is to have at least one Debbie bike in every state. Jason Davis on the road again in Chisholm, Minnesota.
Well, Dave doesn't have much of a voice left after watching that football
I've been
game.
screaming a lot.
You weren't
It's not
watching
good
weather charts tonight.
No, but there's a little bit of snow on the radars, and we'll have that in just a minute.
Want to take a walk? It's a long one if you want to see all the Lazy Boys on sale at Slumberland's Lazy Boy shops. You can stroll past thousands of Lazy Boys in all, and every single one is on sale. A big selection is reduced as much as $100. Now, that's not $100 off manufacturer's suggested retail. No, that's $100 off Slumberland's everyday low prices. At Slumberland's Lazy Boy shops, it's a long walk to see all the Lazy Boys, but you're going to find one you like, and you are going to get a good buy.
On the island of Hawaii today, a major volcanic eruption. The Kilauea volcano blew up, creating a 3-mile curtain of fire and shooting molten rock 150 feet into the sky. Scientists say the fireworks could last from 3 days to a couple of weeks. Fortunately, the closest major city, Hilo, is 20 miles away and not in danger. Makes the snow look real good.
Yeah, it sure does. We don't have to worry about that. We did have a little bit of snow showing up in western Minnesota early today, and that has now been spreading in, and it's continuing to spread that way. But the temperatures have been really mild around the 5-state area as well as the Twin Cities. This is what the afternoon highs look like around the Twin Cities Observer Network. They're mainly in the low to mid-20s, but they were afternoon highs. The temperature's actually been rising through the evening, and the temperatures have been warming up around the country as well. Out in the west, the real warming trend is showing up. We've had highs that were in the 30s all the way up across the northern Rockies. That warm air is gradually spreading in from the west, and it's pushing out all the cool air that's been hanging up across eastern Canada. Add it all up, this is what we got here in the Twin Cities. The high officially out at the airport occurred 1 hour ago at 28 degrees. Low this morning was 7. So far, we have had a trace of snow flurries out at the airport. Currently here in the Twin Cities, our temperature is now at 27. Still awfully mild for this time of the night. Dew point 21. Those south winds at 21 are gusting all the way up to 30. That's giving us a wind chill right now of 0. There is a low pressure system battling with the high. This right now is sitting over the Ohio Valley. What the two are doing are squeezing up the air across Minnesota, giving us fairly strong south to southwesterly breezes across the southern part of the state. They haven't picked up much in the way of moisture, though, because the Gulf is still locked off. They have picked up a little bit, and some of that moisture is now pushing into the eastern Dakotas and western Minnesota. This is what that looks like from the satellite's point of view. For the last 24 hours, that moisture has just been racing right across the northern part of the U.S. Now in the latest picture, you can see that the high-level clouds, more moisture-laden clouds, are now pushing into western Minnesota and much of the eastern Dakotas. Close look at the upper Midwest shows that batch stretching all the way up from International Falls right down through southwestern Minnesota. The more moisture-laden clouds are out to the west. Let's take a look at the National Weather Service radar from Fargo. You can see that light snow now stretches just from the south point of Grand Forks all the way down through Fargo, and some of that is heading towards Minnesota. It has been taking a southeast drift the last several hours, but currently on the KSTP radar we're not seeing it yet. But I'd expect a little bit of that to be showing up by morning. This is why for the next 12 hours we're going to have this cool front race into the western part of Minnesota, and that should be there by morning. That means we'll have this light snow area drifting right through the Twin Cities, but then by Wednesday we're going to have a high moving in. That's going to clear out the skies and still keep that mild temperature going. This is what the forecast looks like for tonight. We're going to have mostly cloudy skies. Flurries are possible. A little bit of light snow by morning. We might even see a little bit of freezing rain or drizzle by morning rush hour, and that could make driving tricky. 22 to 26 for overnight lows with south winds up to 20. And then for tomorrow, chance of light snow or flurries, and that'll continue through tomorrow night. Highs tomorrow going above freezing, maybe 35 degrees, 12 to 18 for overnight lows. And then for the outlook on Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, still mild, 27 to 32 for highs. That chance of precip now is set at 20% tonight, but it will increase to 30% tomorrow and tomorrow night. And that extended outlook continues that mild weather all the way through the weekend. Very, very nice for this time of the year. Maybe a little bit of rain or snow on Thursday.
All right, now you save your voice.
I'm
Just calm down, because they have a playoff game on Saturday, and you have to work then, too. Today was the first day the partial parking ban went into effect in Minneapolis, and if you parked on the even-numbered side of the street, you probably found a warning note on your windshield. Parking in residential areas is being limited to the odd-numbered sides of the street, and police say tomorrow there'll be no more warning notes, only $25 tickets, and cars that are going to be towed away.
Well, it was a throat-wrenching, exciting football game at the Metrodome, and Bob Bruce is there right now. Bob.
Here at Towsley Ford Subaru, we just made a special purchase of 25 Ford Courier pickups. And these are very unusual trucks. They were titled only to Ford Motor Company, have never been driven, and carry fully new truck warranties. They were originally priced up to $7,000. Come into Towsley and take your pick for just $49.95 while they last. This group includes all models, XLTs, 4-speeds, 5-speeds, automatics, everything, just $49.95 while they last. Special low-rate financing applies to these trucks. Hurry to Towsley Ford Subaru, White Bear Lake.
Crisp, wintry Minnesota day, and you're off cross-country skiing over the hills and through the woods. You see muskrat, raccoon, fox, and mink tracks in the snow. And in the distance, you hear a loud, unfamiliar growl. A growl? Where in the world are you? Of course. You're cross-country skiing at the Minnesota Zoo, and you'll ski right past the tigers, moose, Bactrian camels, and musk oxen, which are all at home in the Minnesota winters. But no need to worry. They'll stay off the ski trails. The Minnesota Zoo has almost 10 miles of groomed trails. Skiing is free with the general admission price to the zoo, and there is ski rental available for the entire family. After skiing, it's off to the world's largest warming house, the huge tropics building with Southeast Asian plants and animals. Do something wild this winter. A public service announcement of the Minnesota Zoo.
There he is. Bob Bruce, you found your way back upstairs. I thought maybe we lost you for the night. You were so excited about that ball game.
No, I am here. Earlier today, Howard Cosell said that the Vikings had 2 chances at winning this game, Slim and Nunn, and that Slim had left the room. Evidently, Nunn was here tonight at the Metrodome because the Vikings did indeed beat Dallas 31-21 to secure a home playoff bid. Here we go. Tommy Kramer. He has a couple of times had trouble with interceptions. Dennis Thurman, 60 yards. Dallas at this point led 10-0. It looked like it was going to be a long night, but fake punt. Greg Coleman looks like he's got nowhere to go, but wait just a minute. The other way, that led to a 64-yard drive, ending in a 28-yard field goal by Rick Danmeyer. The Vikes 3, Dallas 10. Now let's move to Tommy Kramer, looking downfield, trying to get something on the board. Ricky Young right there inside the 20-yard line, and that sets up Teddy Brown, who had a tremendous game tonight, 100 yards rushing. He goes in for the touchdown. The Vikes 10, Dallas 10, and we've got a great football game on our hands. Let's go to Kramer again. This time, he's looking for the man who was great today, Teddy Brown. touchdown. This is capping a 74-yard drive in 9 plays. The Vikes lead it for the first time 17-10. This is, I don't know how to describe this one. Watch, this is John Turner. One-handed interception, 33 yards in for the touchdown. Vikings 24, Dallas 13, but wait just a minute. They're coming back. Tony Dorsett, look at this one. It's history. First time in 63 years of the NFL. The longest run from scrimmage, 99 yards by Tony Dorsett. It's never happened before. You saw it tonight. And then this play, Danny White. All the time in the world, having a picnic lunch, looking downfield, looking. Cosby is down there, but watch this catch. How they didn't knock it away, I'll never know. Cosby gets it. Ron Springs took it in for the touchdown, 27-24. The Vikings got a score. Last couple of minutes of play. And this, get up, Ricky. Take it in for the touchdown. The Vikings go back into the lead, 31-27. But Dallas got the ball one more time, and then the Purple Gang playing like the days of old. Randy Holloway with a tip pass. Minnesota beating Dallas 31-27. You just cannot come up with enough adjectives to describe this game. Incredible. Now, I believe Larry Burnett is standing by downstairs with more on tonight's game. Larry? Evidently, we have some problems downstairs. Let me tell you what this game really means to the Vikings. Tonight's victory over the Cowboys puts the Vikings in 4th place in the NFC standings. Now, that means they'll open the playoffs here at the Metrodome against Atlanta on Sunday. The Falcons have been up and down this season. Right now, they're down, losing back-to-back games to the Packers and New Orleans. Atlanta did not look good in either of those games, but they have a rifle-armed quarterback in Steve Bartkowski. He is great, and a big play receiver in Alfred Jackson, and a strong running game led by this man, William Andrews. The last time these two teams met during the regular season was on Monday Night Football in Atlanta just over 1 year ago. The Vikings opened a big lead in that one, but the Falcons rallied in the second half to win it, 31-30. Now, here's how the rest of the NFC playoff picture looks. The Cowboys will be at home to play Tampa. That one will also be on Sunday. On Saturday, the Cardinals will play the Packers in Green Bay. And Detroit plays the Redskins in Washington. So there you have it, the NFC playoff picture of tonight's game. I'll tell you, just a crazy one. There was one other game played tonight here in the cities. Good news for Gopher basketball fans. They closed out their non-conference season with a 62-45 win over Montana State. You see him there, Randy Brewer, the big one. Just call him the big fella. He had 23 points tonight. Tommy Davis had 10. Roland Brooks, 8 points tonight. And the Gophers' record is now at 8-1. They are hot. They'll be at home to open up the Big Ten season against Illinois on Thursday. And Dennis, again, the final tonight, 31-27. You have to talk a bit about this game. I've been covering the Vikings for the 5 years that I've lived up here, and I know they've been around a lot longer. But I just don't know if you can find a greater upset victory. This game had it all. It was what pro football is really meant to be. Two really good teams going at it, and it's hard to imagine that just a week ago, they lost 45-14 to the New York Jets. They play what everybody thinks is the best team in pro football, and they beat them. They're down. They came from behind. They intercepted passes. They didn't quit. One thing I should also mention about the fans here tonight. I've never seen the Minnesota fans happier. It was just great that they played the game here so they could really enjoy and relish this victory, because there has never been a more excited crowd. They were on their feet in the second quarter. That has never happened, but it happened here tonight. It was just great that everybody could witness the game on TV on Monday Night Football. I can't say any more. It was great, and I'm glad I was here.
A little bit more, Bob. Come on. What else do you have to say about it?
I predict they'll beat Atlanta. How about that?
Well, let me ask you one question. We had some